Check 1, 2. Hey again, everybody. Welcome to the second stream of Friday. We are going to continue with Dark Hallway, the game that we're making with Python Ursina engine. And if you're not familiar, it's very rudimentary. Basically, all we have so far is a little dialogue menu. And we have some items placed inside some bookshelves that we have loaded. Hey Skullcrack, how's it going? Good to see you again. And so what we did earlier was we made it to where you can get the item in your inventory and then right click on it and then select use, and then if you have another item in your inventory, does it look wonky or is that's just the map? What you can do is you can do right click and then use, and then using bag with bag. So this is how we're going to make the mechanic of crafting, which is going to be a crucial component in driving the story of the game. It's just an easy way to make things kind of compelling without having any kind of animations or whatever. We'll just have some crafting formulas or whatever, and we'll call it a day. I think the first change that we want to make is whenever we are selecting an item, the context menu will change. So let's look at what's happening whenever we are selecting an item. We did this earlier, but I've already forgotten. So right here we have a right mouse down. That's the only place we have a right mouse down, so this is definitely the culprit. And inside of inventory we have handle right click, so let's check that out. Then here if we have mouse hovered entity is none, return. Then we're looping through items and checking if the hovered entity is the item. And then we're enabling the context menu. This is how we handle the context menu click. Next, on the context menu itself, whenever we click use, we go over to the item class, which is currently in hallway objects. No, I'm sorry, it's in menu? No. Inventory, here we go. Right. This class right here. And the use function is down here. And we have parent using item, and the using item is on the parent, which in this context is the inventory. The parent of the menu item is the inventory itself. There are two inventories, remember? And so the using item is the other item. So when we do use, this is just closing the context menu. And then we're setting, we're calling another function called useWith on the item that we already have. If this item is already set, basically. So this is where we need to get our function or, variable. If this is not none, then we need to create the context menu differently. So context menu is created right here. So how are we going to communicate to the context menu when that is set? Let's see. When are we setting using item? Here we're setting it to none. This would be the constructor of the inventory as a whole. And that's one place we could think about doing it. Next, we have these two functions, select item and deselect item. Bingo. So when we get to the item here, we're going to have to change the context menus for all the items below. And let's see. Just thinking about this for a second. When is the context menu? So there's only one context menu on a menu item. Okay. So it's set throughout the whole time, basically. And the moment that we're creating the context menu is when we're opening it, which would be on the right click, which we just looked at. I'm just, you're gonna have to bear with me. Handle right click right here. And the only thing that's doing is enabling the context menu right here. But in this moment, we need to check and see if the item.parent.usingItem is not equal to none. Then what we need to do is we need to change the text. Or what I think is appropriate is to just kind of transfer the variable to the context menu. Like this. I think using item is the right thing to do. So what we want to do, set the context menu. We'll set a variable called using item to self.usingItem, item.parent.usingItem, and that might be none, or it might not be none. Now context menu is defined over here in the context menu class. Right here we'll have to define a default variable. Self.usingItem equals none. Now right here is where we have the text, and it's set to the action variable. Now I think what I'm going to do instead of this is I'm going to bring this outside of here, and I'm going to set it to a variable called btn text, and I'm not going to assign it right yet. What I want to do is assign btn text to action name, and then do an if statement below it like this. And I want to do if self dot item dot using item is not equal to none, then we're gonna set the text to with something like that, but I think that what we're going to do is we're going to make it to where if the self.item using item is not equal to none, then we're going to check if the action name is not equal to use, think we're going to continue, and we'll give this an explanation of when using an item, only show the use one. And I'm debating on thinking that we just want to set the button text to use using item name with and then self item name. Yeah. Self item name. So this should do it. Let's see how we did. Nope. It says it has no attribute called using item. I'm trying to think of why that could be. Is there any chance that this happened outside of the constructor somehow? I mean, it's right there. I don't see why. Context menu has no attribute using item. But doesn't it? Aren't I setting it right here? Just to play devil's advocate. Let's do that. Okay. Now, I don't advocate for that, but it's interesting that that worked. As if it bypassed the constructor almost. I'm not sure it worked either. Use. Yeah, what should be the effect is whenever I click on the second item, it should say use bag with orb. And that's not happening. So let's see why that's not happening. Let me go to GitHub and trace the changes that I just did. Item.parent.using item. That's all I did here. Right. Okay, so when we do select item, that's supposed to set using item. And when do we do select item? When we do use. Yeah, exactly. When we do use. So at the point where we're calling the second context menu, this should already be done, right? It would be handle right click. And the point where we're at the second context menu would be, I guess it doesn't matter. We're just passing it in here. So item.context menu using item should be set at that point. Oh, okay, so build menu. Alright, so we haven't called the constructor is the problem. So we've got it done here on build menu. And that's good. But I think that we need to have build menu also called elsewhere. Let's see. So here we have an array of buttons, so that's good. We have the ability to do 4. Here, let's give it a prompt here. I think that there's a function here called disable. Get rid of buttons like that. And then after we set this, we can call it again, basically. Build menu. Like that. Alright, so we're passing that in as a Boolean, and I think I intend to pass that in as a full object. So let's see. This would be on the menu item class way up here. I guess actually it's on the handle right click function. Yeah, so right here it's setting that to a Boolean. I just want to pass in the entire object. There we go. Use bag with bag. Let's pull out a different inventory item. Oh, good luck. We got bag again. Another bag. Finally. Orb. Use orb with bag. Cool. The only thing I'll say is that the width of the button is weird. Maybe we can fix it with a little bit of a, new line character. Let's try to do that. It's over there in the inventory class, where we have the menu item. Or was it back in the handle right click function again? Yes, it is. Should be a context menu function, make it more clear what's going on. Alright, so the using item gets set to the parent using item. all good. In the hood. What was I even doing? Oh, yeah. I'm gonna make the button bigger. Or set the different text to the button, which is something that I can do actually here. Okay, let's go ahead and try that. See what it looks like with a little new line right there. New line cinema. No, I don't like it on the new line like that. Looks kind of jank. Let's see. The button of this. I mean, I guess they could be wider in general, but I don't think they need to be. I don't know, let's go cheap. Alright. This is too long. I'm not sure how you can do a ternary in Python. Would come in handy here. Just thinking about switching to a different game engine, but I don't think that's for me right now. I think I want to just press forward on this one. Alright, so now instead of saying use item with item, it's just going to say use with item. So use with orb. It's still a little bit too long for that. We'll just make it a little bit wider. Potentially call it a day. Doesn't look wider. Yeah, I think I set the wrong variable. Okay, so that works pretty good. So I'll go ahead and commit that right now. Use item X with item Y text. If anybody knows how to get rid of these high cache files, that'd be sweet. I would really appreciate it. Let me know, homies. Alright. So that was that. Right now, on the context menu, in the use function, actually in the inventory menu item, def use Oh yeah, here, right here. We've got a print going on. And I think that instead of this, we want to access our conversation. So let's move back over to hallway and see how that's done. Now, I think it's appropriate for our inventory to also have a conversation. So we're going to need to copy all this crap that comes with the default one, because I'm too lazy to look in at changing it. We're going to need to copy that over to our inventory, like so, kind of. Fix the indentations. Fix all the indentations. And the spacing. Then import from conversation, import conversation with the lowercase f, uppercase c. You always want a lowercase f and an uppercase c, if you know what I mean. Okay. So now we have a self-conversation in inventory. I think, isn't that where I put that? No, I put a menu item. I didn't mean to. Inventory is where I meant to put it. Put it there now. There we go. And a minor adjustment that time. Now, where we have our prints, right here, instead of printing this out, we want to access the inventory's conversation. Like that. Alright, let's see how that works. Something must be missing. Let's see what I'm missing. The only thing that I can see is the start conversation. It's possible that I'm missing something else. Well, no, I'm not. That's the only function that I have, start conversation right there. But it gets called immediately after, so I'm wondering if that has something to do with it. Let's see. It's possible that we can just, call this in like a show message function, wrap it, call it a day, but I want to see if this makes a difference. Yeah, it looks like it does. Although I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess I didn't include it for whatever reason. Let's go ahead and do that. Oh, here it is. So self.parent.start conversation. Yeah. Let's see if we can initialize it. I know this looks hideous, but something I'll have to fix. There we go. Okay. And as I mentioned, I do, and I am going to do right now. I'm going to create a wrapper function for that in inventory. So, wait. So go back to the class. You know what was interesting too is it looked like I didn't actually need those variables after all, which is wonderful. And I'll verify that in a second, but I'm going to create a function way at the bottom down here. And it's going to be def show message. Really surprised it doesn't know what I'm trying to do here, but that's fine. I know what I'm trying to do. Right. And then now, when we have use with, we're going to do self parent show message. And it's going to be the F message. Down here as well. Self.parent.show message. Hooray for object oriented. I mean, for real, that's just abstraction. It has nothing to do with object oriented or whatever. Alright, this is no problem. I know exactly what this is. Now we'll try. It looks good. And that'll be a commit right there. Oh, cool, look at that. Assertion. That's what I drink. Assertion errors. That's my green cup. I forgot to turn off my chroma key filter. And my cup is now transparent. Pretty sweet. Alright, so now we have conversation on inventory, which is just show message. I like the idea of having a show message function rather than having this conversation class. Conversation class is kind of useless. But so far so good. There's a couple of things like that are low-hanging fruit that we could deal with, but I'm going to do kind of an essential game function next. That's going to be, bro, why do I vape? It's just a bad habit, bro. It's to deal with stress, I guess. It's low impact, and yeah, man, it just kind of mellows me out. Alright, so now we can use our items with other items. We can see a message about it on the screen. And now the next thing I want to add is the concept of events. And so an event is going to be what drives the story of the game. So for instance, you can't go in the castle unless you've spoken to the princess. So we're going to save spoken to the princess as an event, for instance. I don't know if it's going to be princess or not. But it doesn't matter because events are going to be a core function of the game. So let's work on it. Alright, first thing we're going to do, just right away, is create a new file for it. And right now we'll call it event.py. And this is going to be a pretty lightweight class, core class. It doesn't have any dependencies, pretty much. And it's going to be called event. Now this is pretty good. I don't think I need all of this. I do need a name. And I think we're going to have to keep some kind of collection of events. For right now, we'll call this valid events. And we'll make it into an array. Yeah, birthday, that's a good one. Let's make the first one collected 5 orbs. Actually, I don't want to do that. I actually don't want to have any numbers in my variable names ever. I am morally against it. Collected 1 orb. That'll be 1 event. Whatever, fine, collected 2 orbs. And then we'll say, collected 1 bag. And, all we'll do right here, I guess, is have a name of the event. And then I guess we can create is valid string. I'm not sure how we're going to end up using this, but we can use it as a static class, where we can just call it event.isValidEvent. Maybe we can do it in the structure, in the constructor. Yeah. This will at least give us a nice error for the sake of the developer and me to see exactly why something is not good to go. So and it's going to print out all the events. That's pretty good. So in our constructor, when we define the name of the event, which by the way, we don't need any of these other things. We really just need the name of it. I don't think that we need... maybe we need... let's go with event message texts. It wants to make it into a library. I'm down with that. Yeah, okay. It's pretty basic. Okay. Yeah. So we have valid events and have message text. I think that's a pretty okay event class for now. So what we want to happen is when we collect an orb, we want to check and see how many orbs we have collected. And I think we want to create a single function in the inventory called handle inventory event. It's not going to be quite that. First thing we'll want to do, I guess, is bring in our event class. And I think this is one of those use cases where we actually do want to create a global how do we do that? I guess that's how we do it. You know, really I'm more comfortable having that as a like a singleton, right? What would that look like for us? We can define it here, and then we can pass it into hallway. I really think it's just going to be defined on hallway. So if it's defined on hallway, how are we going to get it from inventory back up to hallway? So what's the relationship between hallway and inventory? Well, it goes to menu. It goes from hallway to menu to inventory, and it has two inventories. So how do we get it up both levels, basically? So let's look at menu and see how it does its inventory. I spelled it wrong. Oh look, I spelled it wrong there too. Let's fix that real quick. I don't look like an idiot. Alright, I look like an idiot. There we go, fixed it. Now we can say we're smart. So we have two inventories right here. And the relationship between the inventory and the menu is that the menu is the parent of the inventory. So if we wanted to fire an event, we would be calling parent. And then I think it's the same thing that the menu is the child of the hallway. So can we just call parent.parent and set the event like that? It's worth noting, or it's worth trying at least. So here in our hallway class, let's say that that's how we're going to do this. So let's say self.events is an array. And then from our event class, we'll import event. And then just like we were about to do or started doing on the inventory class, what we want to do is we'll say handle event. Yeah, I don't think this is right. clever, but this is not what I want at all. All I really want to do is just this dot events. So this is what's going to be called every time we have an input, right? Because that's the only time we're going to change. So every time we call input, we're going to also call handle event to check and see what has changed. And one of those things that can change is one of the items in the inventory. So could have changed, and that's what we want to do here, is check the inventory events. And I think that what we can do is pass in the events from the top and then manipulate it from within the function. And then since it's a mutated variable, it should be there when we get back out of the function without us having to return it again. But to be safe, we can pass it in and return it as well. I think that's what I'll go ahead and do. And so I'll go this dot events equals this dot inventory menu dot inventory dot handle inventory events, and then we'll pass in this dot events. And I just realized I'm using this as if this is JavaScript, and I need to use self because this is actually Python. And this is the only events that we'll be processing right now, but here we'll be adding, you know, what other types of events there may be. Maybe it's a position-based event. Like maybe you walk into a room and then a cutscene plays or something. Who knows? The possibilities are events. So I want to call this handle events, and this is only serving to be called as this is triggered, which is, I guess we're going to, all of our processing will be taken care of at the bottom here. So this is where we should call our handle events. So self handle events. And this was record events after input, after changes made from input. Simply put. Yeah, thank you for watching. I appreciate it very much. Alright, so we have to kind of figure out exactly how we're going to do this, but here we can go directly from inventory to menu. And it might be worth thinking about going to menu first, and that's because our menu currently has 2 inventories and that's it. But I mean, in the future it might have settings, it might have things that can be updated right directly on there. It'd be worth it for me to go ahead and, you know, put that in there. So let me go ahead and do that. So we'll only handle events from direct descendants. Yeah, I can lower the music, no problem. It's a little loud for me too. There we go. Thank you for letting me know that it was too loud. I appreciate it. It's hard for me to tell because all the levels are adjusted and it's always just fluid. But I appreciate you letting me know that it was too loud. Okay, so we're only going to handle the events of the direct descendants, and then those descendants will handle their events. So it'll be like a cascading way that we're going to handle the events. So self.menu, and then we're going to call handle menu events. Good enough for me, right? So let's pop over to menu, and then, as you can imagine, that when we're defining the function menu events, it's going to follow the same philosophy. Not that. It's going to be self.inventory handle. We'll keep going with that inventory events. And then I'm wondering, yeah, I called it inventory. Use an N. I'm wondering if we need to also keep track of events on the menu level as if we're handling a state. That's probably going to be good. So really we're going to be dealing with events that are of global type, but maybe menu events, maybe global game events, whatever kind of events we need for the game. But they're going to be all over the place. So let's go ahead and import them here. And I think pretty much everything will implement this event system. So in our constructor, I want to say somewhere close to the top, we need to define an events array like that. Hi, Ursina. Thank you for joining. Alright, so we're defining an events array for our menu. And we don't have any menu events right now, but that's okay. What we're going to do is we're going to pass in our menu events like this, and we're also going to assign the value to whatever we're returning from that, just kind of recursively all the way down back to the mothership, and then continually return it. And that shouldn't be an underscore, that should be a period. And it should be an underscore. So both were technically correct. Alright, that's all we need for handle menu events. It almost seems like there should also be a input function for menu, but I think that this will be good enough. We only need to worry about the inventory events, and we'll see why. But this will also be available to us. So when we call the input function all the way on the granddaddy class, that goes all the way down to this inventory class, because what we just did was we made it to where this is going to be called via the parent, and that's going to be this one. And we're passing in events here, and I just remembered, I think we might need to pass in events here as well on inventory. No, sorry, on menu. Oh, that's interesting, but no, that's not what I had intended for this. So if we're passing in events here, I mean, I think that we could give the opportunity to set this to none. And we can just qualify this with if events equals none, then not return, but will actually, if it is not equal to none, then we're just going to assign our events to the events that we're passing in, so we can make this passive. Then we'll also assign it to whatever events is spitting out. And so when we actually start to process events, which we're about to do in the inventory here in a second, we're going to be appending to this array and then returning it continuously. So let's go see what that's going to look like in inventory here. So here we are passing in events, and let's do that model of setting it to a none type by default, and then checking if events is not equal to none. Then I don't know what it's trying to do here. It's kind of lost the context. Yeah, self.events equals events. And yeah, that's because I've never defined events. We're going to have inventory level events as well. Why not? We're just going to go crazy with events on all levels. Like the Oprah of events. Yeah, okay, cool. We're already importing it. That's cool. Alright, so right here, passing in events, and then we're setting it to our events if we don't have any. So the Granddaddy class is going to be the master of all events. That's why we make these subclasses passive like this, just in case you're wondering. Every time we pass in from the Granddaddy class the set of events, the events in one of the little baby classes needs to conform to whatever is passing in. So that's why we can assign it every time. Alright. Oh, sorry, I didn't see your message. Oh, the message? I'm sorry, the game? Yeah, no, not finished at all. Let's see. I can go ahead and show you. Let's see. Hopefully we haven't messed things up too badly. Yeah, this is the game thus far. There's not very much to it. We can get items. Items are persistent, and now we can use the items together. You use the orb with the orb, and the other thing is you cannot use the orb with itself. And then our hallway is infinite right now, but we're going to change that. I did a stream earlier where we made the storyline, and it's going to be a lot of work, but definitely definitely a labor of love, I suppose. Yeah, not much to show yet, but these events are going to be essential. And then now that I have the storyline, it's going to be kind of critical. Yeah, no problem. Sorry I didn't see your message sooner. But yeah, now that we have the storyline, I think the rest of it's going to flow with the events. So yeah, let's go ahead and work that in. Alright, so what this is going to be is what is called essentially every time there is an input. And so on the inventory level, what we are doing is we are setting the events to if self.item to self I guess this is actually on the menu level now that I think about it, but yeah, let's just put it here for now. If self dot What is the variable here where we have the items? It's probably called items, right? Yeah, it's just called items. If self dot items, I think we need another functions for this. I'm trying to think. Maybe the events themselves need to be functions. But so this is one way we can do it. We just loop through all the items and then increment a little number for every time we have an item of that type. And then that'll determine how many times that we have an item of type. And then here in this one, we can say self count item type, yeah, all that. And then we'll check orb. And then we will append the event orb, I guess. And then maybe handling the event will be a matter of what happens for the event. Or maybe we have triggers in events, I'm not quite sure. But right now, I think what we're going to do is we're going to make it to where this is where we have the event, which comes on inventory, and then when we have... Okay, no problem. Thank you so much for stopping by. It was very nice to have you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. That's... Wow, thank you so much. Thank you. Alright. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to... Here's where we appended an event. This is not the correct event that we want to append. We really do want to check if we already have that event. But I guess one way to do that would be maybe a dictionary. Do a little indexing, huh? Yeah, there's a ton of ways to do it, but this is kind of just going to be a rudimentary way to do it. We'll append that event to our list of events. We'll deal with duplicates later or whatever, because really we should only have one event that's fired each time. Happens once in the game's life cycle, depending on what type of event it is, maybe. But here we got collected 3 orbs. And I guess we could do other ones as well. Oops. And yeah, that's how we'll do it. I know that we're gonna have to create a function for this, but I'm an eager beaver, so I kind of just want to see this working. Yeah. So once we are done with that, we should be calling handle the event immediately after. And I don't know, we'll just print the message in the handle event. Wait a minute, so this is handling the event? Well, I guess we can just do it here for now. Yeah, so we'll show the message, and then we'll blank the events if the events are set. But I think that'll happen somewhere else, but we'll deal with this now. I guess I have to find an orb first. So it's already feeling like a game. I already have to find the orb. There are orbs, I swear. There are orbs. Yeah, found one. What happened? Darn it. I took all that. There we go. Did I get an event? No, I don't think I got one. Oh, look. Aha. I do have the events. They're just not removing quickly enough. Or I think that's what it is. Let's just put one event. And, I don't know about event, appending it. Let's just keep it simple, stupid. Let's just blank it out every single time. Because I guess technically it is, every time I click, you collected one orb. Oops. Durr. Alright, that's cool. I mean, I can definitely get with this as a flow for now. The problem with it, we need to append the event here. I don't think we want to show the message here. We also want to return the events here, remember. And then once we get that back on the granddaddy level, the hallway level, Naruto, hello. Welcome to the stream. Once we get that back on the granddaddy level, what we're going to do is we're going to handle all of the messages from the top level, the granddaddy level. Hello again. I think there's a lag. I'm good. How are you? It's nice to have you here. All right, so here we have the events that are coming off of the menu. Here we will be processing the events, which will in turn set them back to 0. So I'm just thinking of how we want to handle that. On the top level, because at this point, you know, we can't forget that we do have an array of events here that's going to persist, and we're returning it right here. So I'm not sure, we don't want to just keep an array of events, right? We need to zero it out. You have a coding question? That's okay, you can ask your coding question. Welcome. So we do want to, it almost makes it to where we actually don't want to keep the events here. Maybe. I guess it doesn't matter, because if we're passing in the events every time, you know, then we're going to set it every time. So yeah, I mean, this is an okay method. The only thing that we have to change is we don't want to allow the none in the arguments for events. for now. Just to make this strict. And then we'll do the same here in menu, but we'll keep it commented out just so we can remember the idea. Just for some reason I need to revisit this and do it like this in the future. And can't forget the proper indentation. It's crucial. I think that's everything. Naruto, feel free to ask your question. I'm happy to answer questions. I apologize for the lag, but at least my camera is not acting up today. That's probably a big win. I honestly didn't even do anything differently. You're doing BCA, and your question is that what is the roadmap of AI and which web is good to learn Python. So I learned Python in college, and I only do it now because it's so accessible. And I don't really watch tutorials at this point, so I wouldn't really know what kind of resources you'd need to learn Python. I mean, I'm doing Python, you can watch me, that's one thing for sure. But also, you know, the greatest resource is just coding and making sure that you're making things, even if it's simple stuff. I don't know your experience level, but everybody at any experience level, I think, can make something, even if it's like the same thing over and over again. I mean, that's why I'm here today. But other than that, I'm sure that there are plenty of great tutorials, but I wouldn't get hung up on tutorial. You'll wind up in tutorial hell, and you don't want that. You don't want to ever be afraid to get going. Python is a great language for machine learning, but if you were to start with Python, what I recommend is a tapered approach with a compiled language, so that you are starting with, let's say, 95% Python, 5% compiled language. Just like read about it for maybe a couple of minutes a day or something like that. Nothing at all. Then, once you start understanding Python a little bit better, then you can go into your compiled language more. You know, maybe your percentage now will be 75-25. Maybe you spend several hours a day with Python, but only 30 minutes a day with C++ or whatever. That's what I would do if I were you, with any programming path. Specifically for AI, it's tough to say what is the correct roadmap, because it's a changing industry, and I think everything is applicable. You want to learn a lot of math, and you want to learn a lot of low-level programming, even though you may not need it. I'm from Florida in the United States. Thank you for your questions. So our inventory messages were previously handled on the inventory level, but we don't want that, because we want all of our event messages to be fired at the granddaddy level, right here. And we'll call that one process events. which language do I prefer you to learn? Python? Or funny, AI. I would say Python is a great language, but honestly, don't limit yourself at all. Just pick something and just get in there. Just get in there. It won't seem like you're moving very fast, but remember, there's a lot of time. There's a lot of time. You have to. It takes a lot of time, at least. So, just move very slowly and don't have very high expectations. And just be humble. That's what I recommend. Be humble. Hello. This is not exactly what we want to do. Which programming language to learn first? Yeah, still Python is a good one, but I mean, you could go with JavaScript because if your goal is to get a job, then Python might not be the right thing for you. I'm not sure if Python is a very high demand, just because it's just so accessible. I think there's a lot of people that do it, and if you need somebody for a Python position, it's just generally not used in the business world. I don't think. Now, if you were to learn like JavaScript, then there is plenty of crossover with website stuff, and you could design interfaces for AI. I mean, that's definitely a good first language to learn in terms of a programming language. That's the one that I would pick every time, to be honest. JavaScript. It's accessible, it's easy to learn, there's not a lot of restriction to it. I guess I say it's easy to learn. It's one of the easier languages to learn because of its accessibility, I suppose. Excuse me. Alright, this is not what we want. All we want to do is do the conversation, but we want to have a show message here. And here we saw earlier that we actually have to create a new conversation instance for whatever reason. This will just be a wrapper for us. So if we need to change the conversation, we can. And keep the conversation going. But here, whenever we are processing our events, all we really want to do is do this, JavaScript. And the event message is going to be something else, I believe. It's get message. So we have to call get message on our event. We need to be... Yeah, all I did was fix some space in there, no big deal. Sorry, I lost my place for a second. I'm not sure what you mean by that question. Am I fine? I think I'm fine. I think everything's gonna be okay. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do show message. Call event.getMessage. And with that, I think I'm going to take a quick break. And then we will be right back. But please don't go anywhere. There we go. And we're back. Thank you so much for sticking around. Or if you're just joining in, thank you so much for just joining in. Right now we're dealing with events in this game. And the way that we are handling events is on our main, I'm calling it the Granddaddy class. The base of all the game. We're going to handle events with all of its direct descendants, i.e. so far the menu and possibly the position, which is in the player position. We're going to handle all the direct descendants events, and then based on what comes up from the functions that we assign on the child classes, we're going to show the messages, and we'll figure out whatever the other functionality, but that's the basic functionality of the event, is that it happens on the subclass, and then it gets handled on the Granddaddy class, which is called Hallway. So process events is where I'm trying to make that happen. And we have this show message right here. And then we're going to clear out the events. We're going to discard them for now. But really, we're not going to do that in the future. We want to have a persistent list of events. Only add them once. And then that'll be what we're going to control the state of the game. So my children. Let's go to, so we got show message. Let's see if this works. Oh, I don't think I ever called the function process events. Yes, I am married. I've been married for about 6 years. There we go. Now our events are firing perfectly. This is exactly how I want it to function. The event is recorded on the descendant. In this case, it's the inventory right here, and then later on the Granddaddy class, we're handling the event each time we are calling the input functions. And I think the simplest way to do this would be to maintain an array of handled events. Right? So each time I'm not on bathroom break. Each time we handle events, we'll keep an array of handled events. I guess we need to do that here. Let's go ahead and I think that what we want to do is define this as a dictionary. Or maybe not. Maybe an array would be fine. So in the hallway we now have our handled events, which is going to be what we check every time that we I get enough on my salary. I'm not going to reveal the specific number because it's I was always taught not to by my family, but it's enough to pay for my kids and my wife, and we're able to live comfortably. See, handle events. Yeah, all we need to do is check okay, cool, so we can do count and then pass in the I want to say the event's name, not the message, because the message is not going to be unique. I mean, the name is not going to be unique, and that it will be constrained by the database, but we can do that in the future. That's why I like this kind of programming. If we want to integrate a database in the future, doing so will be kind of simple. Yeah, I have a career. I work at a blood bank as a software engineer. We do handling blood donations, collections, and getting it to the hospitals and that kind of thing. And I'm handling the software that helps facilitate that whole process, from donation to when it gets to the hospital, basically, and sometimes after. Alright, so if we already have the event, then we're going to continue. Otherwise, we're going to append the events. So this should mean that we can only fire our collected one orb one time and not again. Perfect. Events are one time. I'm not sure if we want to make all events one time or if we want to have a specific one time, but this would be, I mean, this is where we start to have that kind of logic, is we have all the events as one time, and now we can like fork it later if we want. But this is good. We can go ahead and commit this as soon as we clean up the trash. Yeah, that looks a little wonky there. Let's see what's going on. I found out that you actually don't need this anymore, and also we now have a show message. Welcome to the hallway. Ugh, where am I? Let me just make sure that works. No, Naruto, I don't mind if you go. Thank you so much for stopping by. Alright, so we call... That's not gonna work. Alright. So the events are handled. And I forgot the other thing that I was doing. That's why I need to write stuff down. Oh, I'm just cleaning up the code before I commit. Have a good night. Thank you so much. Let's see. What else do we want to do with our events? We made them one time. But the only thing I want to do now is clean up the code. So let's go to line 66. I don't like double spaces. That looks good. It looked weird in the commit, but it looks fine there. Because it's not a double space, it's a delete and then a space. What's going on line 108? Yeah, okay. I'll leave that little note there. It's fine. I'll allow it. These comments are okay. They're how we're going to queue up the events from the classes and then give them back to the hallway class, essentially. And then the last thing is there. And then, yeah, I have this little events type none. Right now we're basically forcing it to pass in an array of events. Even though we're binding it to the object, it's not actually having any bearing that it's bound to the object. It's basically transient. Alright, so this looks like a good commit for events. Now, let's say we want the, like I mentioned, the position events. But let's just call that handle player events. And let's go ahead and define a player event. So I think with some comments here, and there's probably, I'm thinking of some ways to make this more modular, like having this go into each subclass, and then we can define the events for the subclasses there. Like we can have an event and then extend it with, you know what I mean, inventory event. These are inventory events. I think we're going to do that just to keep it nice and concise. So this stuff right here is going to be, you know, this is going to be valid for the events. Basically all we're going to do is switch out the valid events. So we can do that by giving that a property. Let me not forget what I'm doing, because this is kind of a weird thing that I'm doing. So what we're doing is we're taking our event class and we're instancing it, because we're going to end up with a lot of events. And so if we can categorize it with instancing, then we can probably save ourselves a lot of headache. And so we'll keep this event class right here, but we'll go ahead and comment these valid events out for now. And this never really occurred, so I can get rid of that. And instead of accessing a global, we will be accessing a local property here. And I think we can set it outside of here just to a blank array for now. And then pretty simply, we'll go ahead and copy this via save as, and we'll save this as an inventory event in, if I can spell it. And in this class, we will be extending event, and we'll of course need to import event from events in order to properly extend it. What's wrong here? Oh, I've got this. Okay, so it's not import. Okay, so it's from. It's more like a Spanish statement. From event, import event. And then we will have sangria together at night. And we will dance by the moonlight. Alright. So we don't really need to worry about any of this stuff. This is going to be pretty universal. Actually, that's something we're going to have to change. Let's flip on over to our event class and fix this. It's going to be the exact same thing where instead of doing a global, we're going to define it as a local property to the event. And so here, specifically on the inventory event, all we got to do is define our different valid events, and it should be good to go. That's literally the whole class. Now, I hope that works. I don't know if we're going to be doing any comparisons outside of comparing the names of them. But if my calculations are correct, then this will work exactly the same and be nice and more organized. And of course we have to go to the instantiation here. Alright, let's see if this worked. Let's collect that orb. And we collected one orb. Cool. So, instancing, just to review what we did, we took our event and we created local properties. By the way, I should go ahead and instantiate this. Create local properties here to house these values, and then on a subclass that extends the event class, in this case inventory event, that's when we list all of our different valid events. And the reason for doing that is just purely for organizational purposes. Nice house cleaning thing that we're doing. Alright. I like to remove trailing commas. Where are the comments? Excuse me, let's get rid of those as well. Thank you so much for watching, by the way. I appreciate you so much. You're amazing. Oh yeah, sorry. That was probably coming on too strong. Alright, so as I mentioned before, events will be the first thing that gets cluttered up. So I'm going to attack that head on, and I'm going to create an events folder. New folder, events, and new file. Actually, no. We're just going to bring in event. Show preview. I think that's good. And then the inventory event as well. We want to go ahead and move that. Into our events folder. And I think I'll go ahead and make that a commit. Just a nice soft commit. But first, let's make sure everything is still running. I'd hate to... What? Alright, hold on. Alright, so over here in inventory, somehow we didn't actually do the refactor there. We need it to be events.inventory event. Like that. And then in hallway, I guess we also didn't do the refactor there. Uh-oh. Oh, we have event. Where do we have event? Huh. Line 1? In inventory event? Oh, I get it. Okay. Interesting. So in inventory event, we also need to qualify that with events.event, even though it's in the same directory. No? I mean, this worked a second ago, huh? And then when I moved it, it didn't work. So, but I do want to move it. I absolutely want to move it. Oh wait, no, we're on menu now. Okay, so we moved from the file. Now we're on menu. And it says it has no module in events dot event. Wonder why. Well, this is not right. Yeah. It's again not right. Oh, hallway now. Okay. Alright, it's changing. It keeps changing the file. And it says there's no module named event here. It's like they all were not saved. Oh man, VSC is frustrating sometimes. Alright, but we do have the events working again. I assume. There we go. That's the first event. You collected 1 orb. very basic event. Alright, we're going to make another event here in a second, but we're going to commit this. Oh man, yeah. Definitely commit it. Commit it without thinking about it. If you know me, I don't like to make my commits too big, because then they get kind of crazy. I like to have lots of commits. And so, if my commit starts to get too big, I get nervous. And I start to say, ooh. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys so much. You guys are my absolute lifeblood. Alright, let's take a look at this game. It's starting to become a game for real, and I'm starting to get really optimistic about it. So, this is our event firing. You collected one orb. We can now use the rare orb. When we try to use it with itself, though, it says you can't use it with itself. And when we use it with there, we just simply have it saying you use the orb with the orb. Okay? Now, very slowly, what we're going to do is we're going to add one more event. And the event that we're going to add is a new event type. If you were here a second ago, we created inventory event. We're going to create another type of event. And we're going to call this one player event. And these will be the events that are based on our player object. And this can be based on their position, their settings, whatever it is. But we're going to create another set of events here. And let's say this one is traveled 64 squares. And we'll just have it read you traveled 64 squares. And we need to process this event in the hallway because that's where we have our direct descendant, and that's where we want to process all of our direct descendants. So from events dot player event import player event, and right here is where we have our event handling. I definitely see this moving to its own class for event handling, because you can see here we're going to 116 lines. We got to start finding ways to shave some of this code off. You know what I mean? Start delegating it. All right. But for now, we need to create handle player events. So def handle player, and it's going to be similar in structure to not that. That's incorrect. So we'll comment some nonsense there. It's going to be similar to the handle events functions. How did I do the 3D? I used Python's Ursina engine. Which is pretty fantastic, I have to say. Pretty dope. Alright. So this is not the right function. We need to be in the handle inventory event. So we're going to look something like this. and this is going to be if self.player.the. That's not going to be it. Let's see. See if I can get this from a prompt. Is it that simple? Let's make it 4 squares. Just so we can, you know. I don't know. Oh, so we have 2 of these functions. Okay. But I don't need that. I just need in... yeah, just like that. That's all I need. No problem. So we call handle player events, and then by the time we get to process events, we have the player events so that we can show the message. Okay, something happened. Okay, so we did try to queue the events, but we used the wrong name. So the event that we were supposed to use, or the name rather, was traveled 64 squares, and we used walked 64 squares, I believe. Yeah. So let's replace it with the right one. And remember, we're only setting it to 4 squares. And it looks like it's working correctly. So, yeah. That's one of the events. Kind of a lame one, but it's just an example of the abstraction. There we go. He traveled 64 squares. But I don't think that these are the squares proper to what I am, related here. I think that instead of relating it to squares, I'm going to just say 1 hallway. And so traveled 1 hallway length will be how we'll, measure it up. That way we can correspond it to our globals, which are in hallway const. Hallway length is one of them. I just realized that these are funky. Shouldn't this be self? Doesn't seem to be correct. It doesn't seem to like that. Interesting. Okay. Whatever, Python. Whatever, Python. Alright. Traveled 1 hallway length. We want this to go in our hallway class. And, yeah, we want it to go there. Yeah. If it's greater than or equal to 1 hallway length, then we'll append that you traveled 1 hallway length. And I'll just give it a quick test. Why not? I'll just go the whole way. If you look down here when it says extending the hallway, that means that you've traveled half the hallway length. So that right there, that's a full hallway length. There we go. Alright. I think that's a good place to end it. We'll go ahead and do the commit. And I'll do a quick recap just so we can go over everything just in case anybody missed anything. So we created an event class which has functions is valid event, get message, and then it defines these valid events and message text. In this class, for example, we only define the valid events and the message text, and so similar in this class. And I hate trailing commas. Goodbye. It's just sometimes when I get nervous, you know what I mean? Commas just come out. Alrighty. I don't know what's going on there. That's weird. Oh yeah, that's a conversation. I didn't mean to get too far off topic. Okay, so the way that the events works is in our mothership class, the one that houses all of the children classes. We're going to call every time an input is so like, you know, mouse click, keyboard, whatever. We're gonna call handle the events, and we're gonna check certain things, and if they're true, then we're going to append the event, and then later in process event, all we're simply doing is we're just showing the message for the event. And that's pretty much it. We currently have events for picking up X amount of orbs. You know, not very much exciting stuff, but it is what it is. And